You want to close the door? Okay, great pleasure today as well. I'm sure all of you must have heard about different kinds of things. And it's a pleasure here on a new one now, of course, for another hour or so. And we're going to have the social enterprises in developing countries. And we had also worked on these activities for some time now. And myself, I have worked on all these activities since about 2011, 2012. Although I've been part of it even before this, and just started the activities here. So it's a great pleasure to have all of you here as well, to listen to two activities today. One of them, of course, is coming from Nepal, and the second one has just been set up as well, and it's going to be presented as well, and that particular activity is going to come from Africa. And in Africa, it's going to be from one location, which is in Uganda. And Uganda itself is quite attractive as well. And we will have two colleagues today. And one of the colleagues, of course, is from today. He's going to be here. And that's the one that has come from Nepal, and Nepal is equally important. So we will definitely have those two presented today. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself. And I've been actually originally I was I was in India to begin with, and I finished my bachelor's degree there, and then I came to California. And I finished my PhD in California. And then after I finished my PhD, I started an activity in a completely different place. It's called the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, LBNL. And I had been at LBNL for more than 45 years, ever since I first went there. So it's been a very, very nice activity because I started a whole new program about 30 years ago, which was focused on International Energy Studies Group. So that International Energy Studies Group is still continuing, and I had worked on almost 70 countries. And this includes the two that you had just heard about. So it's a pleasure to hear about those also, with the different kinds of things that they would be providing information about. And I had worked in here also off and on and with various places in MIT as well. So it's a very nice pleasure to hear about all of you and the different things that you will be listening to, and you will get a lot of information from various folks on it. And the kind of activities that I had worked on, of course, included, I told you about Nepal, India, China, and also broadly in Africa, Europe, Latin America as well. It's all added up to about 70 different locations. And what I would like to also tell you is about the kind of work that I have done over the last 4 years now, related to the land use, agriculture, forestry, livestock. So those are the items that we had worked on, and I've acted as the leader of all of them for the last 4 years. And it's been a great pleasure since then, because many persons had come in here as well, listening to all kinds of different things. And more recently, these were, there were 61 activities, 61 items that were 61 people came together and wrote up all these different items. 61 are different items, and that's the largest one that has happened in the last 4 years. We had never seen 61 until now. And so I had reviewed part of those as well. There were 4 of us who had reviewed all these things. And we came up with about 7 or 6 different items, finally. And 2 of the ones that you're listening to now, and you'll be hearing about them, those are very, very important as well. And you'll be hearing about both of those as well. And the number of persons in these are also very large. So for the Nepal one, we have 812 nodes, 812, with 75 supporters. And while the other one from Uganda has 1,500 votes, 78 supporters. A very large number of people had submitted their activities for these things. So it was very good, because very other colleagues went ahead and put together all these things for themselves as well, and they came through all these different activities. So currently, let me also ask our colleague from Nepal who is here. Who is here from Nepal? Yes, of course, you're here. Okay, there were 2 of you. There are 2 of you are here, right?
It's from Switzerland.
Okay, very nice. And we also have 2 other persons who will be, 1 or 2 other persons who will be coming as well. Maybe, okay. Well, I'm sure we will see him here quite soon. That's good. So we have his terrific. So we can see him better now. He's from Uganda. So we'll be hearing about activities from both of them and the kinds of winners and videos that are pursued. It is for some time. So I should ask each of you to talk about your activities and what are the kinds of things that you have been doing and so forth. So you can start with that now, and then after that we will have the other colleague talk about it also.
I'm Tuna Shrestha.
Can you hear it?
I don't know how to put it on. Okay. I'm Tuna Shrestha. I'm here with my colleague Benjamin Huber, and we are co-founder of Climate Tree, which stands for Climate Resilient Society. We develop and promote innovative risk management practices, especially to mitigate climate risk in agriculture sector. So our idea is to provide sustainable and efficient solutions through transfer of knowledge, technology, and finance solutions. The project we are showing here today is about rice. In this project, we promote a climate-friendly rice cultivation method called System of Rice Intensification. It's quite well-researched method and implemented in 50 countries. And what we're trying to do is to promote this system of rice intensification in other countries in large areas and not only in the pilot project. And what is new about our project we don't only bring the technology to farmers, but we also look at the social aspect to make sure that they incorporate or in the agriculture practices. So that is, we also focus on the social behavior aspect, and we are looking on the sustainable financing by bringing this reduced methane emission to the market, so that we can provide long-term solution and long-term technical backstopping and also upscale. So this project is not about developing countries only, it's about North-South project, because our focus is most of the carbon or carbon dioxide or greenhouse gas is being produced in the developed countries, and the biggest effect is in the developing countries. And so what we are trying to do is also to bridge this gap also from between developed and developing countries. So we produce these carbon credits in developing countries, which is being affected the most, and we try to sell these carbon credits most likely in Switzerland or in Europe. So actually, I'm from Nepal, but we are a Switzerland-based company.
Okay, that's very good. So let me also ask my other colleague to start this thing. How do we set this up? If you can see me, can you go ahead with writing, providing information about your activities?
Can you hear me?
Yeah? Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Paul Matovu from Uganda. I work with an organization called Ideas for Uganda, which is typically an environmental organization. So we work on a 5-pillar benchmark of energy, waste management, water, food, and ecology. A central regional coordinator, and one of the things I'm concerned with is coming up with innovations that serve this generation while providing a chance for the future generations to come. So one of our recent innovations is the vertical farm, which will be presented later on. This is, a farm in a box, which is, about 3 by 3 feet. And on one farm, someone can grow a given number of crops, given the scale. So minimally, we can grow 60 to 70 plants on one farm, one unit. And then when we scale up, someone can grow about 200 plants on the same farm. We have so far conducted trials for the vertical farm, and we are ready to start implementation. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Nice to hear from both folks about the kind of things that they have done and what kind of activities that they are producing with. Let me ask a few simple questions to begin with, and then we can open it up for questions from everybody. So one of the questions I have is related to what is the single most important thing you want people to know about your proposal?
I have a question. Isn't there supposed to be a video of what they're doing?
This is
They
a
show a video of what their project.
Did you guys make a video? I don't know if everybody
Yeah.
made it.
yeah, it's really fun.
I think they.
My name is Paul from Ideas for Uganda, which is an environmental organization that seeks to advance environmental sustainability. We operate a 5-pillar benchmark of water, energy, waste management, food, and ecology. I'm here to present a vertical organization project, which is an urban Japanese smart farming program. The vertical organization project uses vertical farmers, which has farms and boats. On one farm, someone can grow about 50 to 200 plants in a small area. The vertical farm is available. You can make bigger or smaller depending on the customer. DMG addresses issues of land scarcity, especially in urban areas where people don't have enough farming space. We also provide farming solutions to people in refugee settlements that are very urban areas where people have enough land to grow their crops. We are also addressing the issues of rented agriculture, which is a big issue to farm productivity here. So we provide a solution where the farmer doesn't have to worry about the season. And basically we can say we promote phased farming. Vertical farms provide a sustainable solution to land scarcity in urban areas. We provide a solution that someone can grow crops from their homes, someone can grow crops in their office, someone can grow crops on their environment, someone can grow crops on material space management planning. We also address challenges of climate change because our farms produce all The factors will come with greenhouse material, which helps us to control the microenvironment of our planet. We have already conducted trials in various districts of Uganda using 15 vertical farms. We've done tests on wood properties, tests on soil properties, and also crops. We're seeking for $50,000 to help us start the initial stage of the project and also to start customer action. We are also in need of a research team to help us do more research in the wood properties, do more research with soil types, and do more research with farm design.
Rice is cultivated in 100 countries in an area of 158 million hectares. Do you know that these rice fields are responsible for methane emissions equivalent to 1.5% of total greenhouse gas emissions worldwide? Actually, there is a way to reduce them. System of rice intensification, or SRI, is a proven methodology which reduces the methane emission by 20 to 60%. At the same time, it increases yield, saves water, and reduces the seed input.
SRI has been tested in more than 50 countries, but it's still practiced only on a small scale. To overcome the challenge of low uptake of SRI by farmers, we are focusing on 3 actions. First, strengthening of middle-level stakeholders such as extension workers, farmers' cooperatives, and local NGOs. Second, we also want to develop the project as a common offset program to guarantee sustainable financing. Lastly, we want to promote the integration of SRI rice in the supply chain of large retailers to food companies.
The project will kick off in Nepal. Nepal, a small country in South Asia, is one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. Rice is an income and is cultivated in 1.5 million hectares. Moreover, rice still grown in centuries-old practice with average yields of around 3 tons per hectare, which is half compared to other neighboring countries. The project will undertake in collaboration with research institutes, regional agriculture department, and local NGOs. The project is scheduled to take 10 years and will cost $1.5 million, which will largely be financed through carbon credit revenue. The main benefit of the project is that it will reduce methane emissions equivalent to 500,000 tons of carbon dioxide. Even more, it will enhance the climate resilience of 50,000 farmers through improved food security, increased income, and reduced rainfall dependency. And this is just the start of the project. Imagine what the impact will be if you upscale to other geographical regions.
To move this project forward, we are seeking for initial funding of $150,000. We are also looking for clients who want to buy our carbon credits to compensate their footprint. If you want to contribute to our vision of a climate resilient society, please contact us.
Climate is a Switzerland-based startup established in 2015. It envisions a climate resilient society where every person has equitable access to knowledge, technology, and finance against climate risks.
Okay, thank you for having your presentation here. That was good. And also for the earlier one was equally good as well. So I think it would be nice to go through some of the questions that I had actually started to do. And one of the questions we had was, what is the single most important thing you want people to know about your proposal?
The most important thing that I want to know about proposal or in general is that it's not about building new technology or bringing new ideas all the time. It's about bringing these new ideas and new technologies to people, understanding the social behavior, why they are not taking up the technology, how to bring the technology to people, and how to sustainably finance. And until now, if you look at these kind of projects in developing countries, are all the time based on donations or charity funds, and it doesn't work forever. I mean, you get maximum 10 years of funding, what after that? I mean, many projects fail after 10 years. You know, it looks very successful, it works good, there is fancy reports printed out, and after 10 years, if you go after another 5 years, there is nothing. So we are really trying to look that there has to be an economic side of all developing projects, and that's what we want to say. It's like all the developing projects, be it agriculture, everything has to be sustainably financed. That's what we want to bring up in the project.
Good. It's very nice to, go through this one and understand what its question looks like. That was good answers to these things. So that was good. Let me ask you another question, and then I'm going to ask our colleague from Uganda with the same question. So one of the other questions is that, as I told you, there were 812 votes that has come from your information on to us. And just to let you know, or you may know about this, is that I had worked in Nepal since about 2010. And it focused entirely on all these topics. And that work has, on forestry activities, it has gone around all over your location in Nepal. And one of the questions I was just wondering is whether if you have been in contact with these people from the World Bank about all these activities, that it has worked on forestry, and also whether, what's its basic goal is to reduce temperatures. That's one of the things they are working on. And go ahead, yeah.
Well, I don't have people in contact with World Bank, but I was working in Nepal for 6 years in development sector. After my undergrad, I worked in development sector, especially in water management, and later in waste management, together with municipalities and also with corporatives. So I do have contacts and networks in Nepal, and I have another colleague who is also was originally from Nepal, so we have contact in networks in Nepal, and also especially in development sector. I was also working in a UK-based charity organization in Nepal, so I do have contacts with them, but I don't have, especially with the forestry, I don't have, and with World Bank not. But in general, in development sector and environmental sector, I do have.
Okay, at some point in time, you may want to contact these colleagues of yours. This was actually run by your Prime Minister and so forth. And on other persons below it. And it would be a very good thing for you to understand what could be done, what they are doing all over the area, and what would be useful for you to make use of as well. Yeah. Let me then change the question also to this other colleague from the one that we just talked about from Uganda. And can you, if you can hear me, that would be good. So the question I have is, what is the single most important thing you want people to know about your proposal? And if you have if you could report about that, that would be good.
Thank you. I can hear you very well. 80% of Uganda's economy is basically reliant on agriculture. So this means that agriculture is Uganda's backbone. However, arable land is disappearing at a very fast rate, whereas people out there think that there is a lot of land in Africa. The opposite is true. Land is disappearing, especially in urban areas where people stay in slums, where people don't have farming space. And this is coupled by the ever-increasing unemployment, especially by women, housewives, these people who stay at home and have nothing to do. So what vertical and micro gardening is here to solve is, one, providing a solution to people who don't have land in land-constrained areas, and also establish a sustainable home-based enterprise from which people can earn about $400 per season without necessarily looking for extra space. People are ever complaining that there is no more horizontal space, but here is a solution which can help people farm vertically. So this is what we are here to do. And also the other issue is that agriculture is mainly affected by, climate change. Seasons have changed so much. We used to have, a season in August. It used to start raining in August, for instance, but it has just started now raining now in September. Yet farmers planted way back. So there is a very big significance when it comes to climate change effect to agriculture. But our farm comes with the greenhouse material, which can help people farm throughout the year without worrying about climate change, without worrying about the rains. So this is basically what we are here to present, and we are certain that this is going to be a very, very good solution for the Ugandans, people of East Africa, and Africa in general.
Good. Thank you very much for all that information. And a related couple of small questions. One is, of course, you had 1,500 voters that you had put together, and we had taken a look at those also. And I also know that there are other countries that are next to you, which is Kenya, Tanzania. They are very equally working on all these topics on different items there. And I was just curious whether you had also looked at those kinds of activities, or has that been useful for you to make use of in your country as well?
That's a very important question. I really want to thank you for that. Well, what we've done in the past is trial, because in agriculture and extension, you don't want to take out a technology which you haven't tested. So for the past, 1 year, we have been trying the technology to see whether it's fit for the, for the service it's meant to serve. And once, we've undergone the validation, we shall be ready to scale, go to East Africa, go to Kenya, go to Rwanda, go to Tanzania, and work with different entities. We have Ideas in general has a network. We have a chapter in Kenya, we have a chapter in Tanzania, and we have a chapter in DRC, in DR Congo. So we hope to work through these chapters to reach out to all these countries, and we are very open to partnerships.
Good. Thank you very much for this information. And the next thing we need to do is to get together and work on each one of these two topics. And we can spend a little bit of time about it and ask them any direct questions that you might have. And they will, of course, respond to you and tell you about what of these different things could be done and how good they are. So if you could do that, that would be wonderful. Of course, she is here. And 1 second. And then we'll get the other person also set up. Please.
I was just wondering, have you been successful in selling carbon credits?
No, we just started right now. So we will be selling carbon credits most likely from 2018 only. It's a long process. We first have to get accredited, and we first have to get it monitored and so on. So the first carbon, and that's what I think I'm correct, right?
And maybe to add, the sale of carbon credit and really the offset, to develop the carbon offset program, we collaborate with other Swiss-based company who has really experienced with it, who already have a big client basis. And then, so for them, for we take their support, which really also helps already. And,
well, that would be good.
But still, I mean, the challenge is, it's a buyer's market, and we really have to show that not only we have this the environmental benefits through the reduction, we also have the socio-economic benefits. So they are willing to choose our project, not other ones. So this is still a challenge. It's not like we have the clients. Even though we have a good partner, we still have to compete with a huge portfolio.
Okay, so we earlier, at least just last with the another group, we are broken into two different set of activities. So some of us can get together to meet with these folks, to the two of you, and some of us can also get together with our colleague. He's here. Is that right? We can put something like that. Okay. So if you do that for about 15 minutes, that would be good. And we can communicate and listen to people here.
Paul is here, right?
You can go and sit. You don't have to sit here. You can have the laptop. Put it.
Yeah, I think it's
Just quickly switch.
Yeah. Do you want to have a card? Just set me up on some.
Okay, should be set up. Yeah, maybe. Paul, can you hear us?
Oh yes, I can get you.
We hear you too.
Oh, that's great.
So, Paul, I had a question. How did you get 1,500 orders? Is that what I heard? 1,500 orders? That's cool.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone. I know some of you could have voted for me, but Ideas is generally a big network. We are under the umbrella called Ideas for Us, which is based in the US. So we have folks in the US. We have people in, we have a chapter in Nepal as well. We have in Africa, we have 21 chapters, that's in 21 countries. And we've also been working closely with very many other organizations. So through such partnerships, we are able to, to get all these votes.
I have a question. Could you describe were you done? Okay. Okay. Could you describe the watering process? How do you water the plants in the vertical garden?
Pardon me?
How do you water? How do you provide water to the soil in those plants?
Oh, how do we water the plants?
Yeah.
There are two ways. Actually, there are three ways, but I'll start with a traditional way. You just get watering can, and then you don't put the nozzle. So you just leave it open and then put exactly where the plant is, though you have to be very careful. The other way is we use a knapsack sprayer. We have those ones that have a very, very different nozzle. So you just water the plants using a knapsack sprayer. But the best way would be if you have drips. If you have, I don't know how you call that, but if you have some sort of drip irrigation system and you just pass it over the farm, so you just open the water and then the plants will get watered automatically. But given that people are not economically stable and they cannot afford some of these materials, they may not opt for that. So it's basically using the knapsack sprayer and using the watering can.
Okay, what I've seen also some kind of vertical garden configuration, and that configuration had stones in the middle and the soil around it. And the way you could water it was just pouring water on the stones, and it started to spread evenly. So you had just one point to water, and it would evenly all the soil and all the plants. So just as food for thought, maybe that's something you could adapt in your vertical gardening.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And since I'm aware that you have the rainy and the rain season and the dry season, maybe you can go one step further and create some kind of water tank on top of it, like harvesting rainwater and then just pouring from one central point and it starts spreading evenly.
That's a very brilliant idea. And I will buy the idea. Thank you.
So I have two questions. So first, I was very glad to hear that you have a chapter in the DRC. My sister lives in Kinshasa. And I know that, there's obviously been a lot of challenges in terms of they import a lot of food, mostly from South Africa. But so I guess my question is your main market sort of traditional farmers who want to increase their production, or are you also marketing to sort of everyday folks who want to have almost like a garden at home? So are there people, is it mostly people buying, 5 units, or are there just people buying 1 unit just for their house?
Thank you for the question. So we've been thinking about this very situation. Um, our intended beneficiary is the everyday person who has no source of income, and we're trying to help this person get a reliable source of income. However, currently the biggest challenge we have is the cost of production. So given the current cost of production, the last mile person cannot afford to buy the vertical farm. So we're now looking for ways to subsidize the farm so that our intended beneficiary can get it at at a reasonable cost. However, with experience, what has happened is people who are demanding for the farm are the top end people, people who have money, people who are rich. They're buying this maybe for leisure or athletics. So we're still thinking about this situation, but until we can be able to subsidize the farm, we may not be able to reach to our intended beneficiary.
Okay.
And I'm also glad to learn that your sister is in DRC.
Yeah.
We'll be very, very glad to work with her.
Food is very expensive. I've gone grocery shopping with her.
Yeah, actually, the most expensive part of the farm is the wood, and then the other expensive bit is the carpenters. We have craftsmen here, and these guys are very expensive. So what we would also love is to have our own production unit so that we cut the production costs by a half, and therefore the cost will go low even when wood is somehow cheap, rather expensive. Yeah.
I have one question to you.
Oh yes.
This is mostly an urban kind of activity to help small plot holders to grow more vegetables and things. But can it be applied to rural areas in your country?
Sorry, I can't get the question very
He
well.
said, or do you want to just talk close?
So, micro gardening and vertical gardening.
Yes, yes.
For a limited space, you try to find out to get more kind of a vegetable output.
Yes, yes.
So this applies more to urban poor who has very limited land available with them, and in their household they can grow vegetables.
Yes, yes.
Can this be applied to rural households or rural sector?
So that's a very good question. Our main focus for vertical micro gardening are those areas that are land constrained, areas that don't have enough farming space. So it can be urban, it can be peri-urban, so long as there is need for land. We have, like refugee settlements, which are in rural areas, but people don't have enough farming space. Even in the rural areas currently, there are places where farming space is disappearing, or the land is available but not cultivatable. It has lost nutrients, it has lost fertility. So we can work in any environment so long as there is need, and the need should be that they need farming space, which they currently don't have, or they have very small farming space.
How expensive is such a kit, or is one?
The vertical farm.
Yeah.
Let me convert this to dollars. It's in our local currency, so let me try to convert it.
What is it in your currency? How much?
In our currency, the cost depends on the type, on the size. So we design the farms depending on the type of plant that we're going to have, because different crops need different spacing, and therefore you may have to change the size. But the cheapest, the lowest cost, the lowest is 500,000 Ugandan shillings. Let me try to convert that very fast. 500,000.
So less than $200.
Yes. Actually, it's $150. Then the most expensive one, the hardest wood, the biggest unit with everything, it would go for $240. However, the good news is we can cut down this cost of production if we have our own production unit, because 50% or more of the production costs go into labor, go into machinery from the side of the craftsmen. So if we have our own production unit, we're going to cut these production costs by a half. Yeah.
Yeah. Jumbo. I was
Jumbo.
I was just living in Kenya for the last 3 months, and I didn't make it too far into Uganda, but I went to Jinja.
Oh.
I was wondering, because I was working with secondary education,
Yes.
have you ever thought of partnering with schools for
Partnering with
something with this? Yes.
Thanks so much. First of all, I'm glad to hear that you went to Jinja. I hope you enjoyed the source of the Nile.
Yeah.
We work with schools because vertical micro gardening started way back in 2013, 2014, and we were working with schools. Though we didn't have the product called a vertical farm, but we were using other micro gardening and vertical farming technologies, and we were working through schools. And currently, we're trying to work with a few other organizations, including Teach a Man to Fish, which is a UK-based organization that has international branches. We are trying to work with Private Education and Development Network, and we're trying, to work with different other entities to see that we can teach the children, because we have a mindset that once we teach the children, then our future generation is safe. They can carry on these practices. Otherwise, I want to thank you for the question.
Thank you.
So is the material sounds really expensive to me. I'm surprised. I mean, is it just that wood is that there's that much shortage of wood? Is that what the challenge is?
Sorry, the wood. Are you saying the wood is expensive?
Seems expensive. Seems expensive.
Oh, so what happens is that we don't use any wood. It has to be a particular species of wood, and we are looking at hardwood species. It should be a type that cannot be attacked by termites, a type that is water tolerant, a type that can last for a long time, because we want the farmer to use the farm for 10, 15 years without it being destroyed. And we're looking at this person earning about $400 every season, and we have 2 seasons in a year. So in the long run, it makes economic sense. Wood would be cheap because we have species like, eucalyptus is here, we have other species, but they are cheap. Though the disadvantage is the farm is going to last for a very short time. So we want something durable. However, this, if we only look at the wood, it would cost about 300,000 shillings, which is about $100. So if we only had to incur costs on wood, it would go for about $100, which would be a little reasonable given the local environment. However, the other way we're also trying to overcome the cost of wood is trying to work with institutions like the National Forestry Authority, because we have very many natural forests here. So we could, do forest liberation or work with other companies that are doing commercial tree planting. So they could donate a few of their species from thinnings, and this would help us subsidize the costs on the of wood.
Would it be possible to use, instead of wood, bricks?
Bricks?
Yeah, would that be an alternative?
An alternative of bricks. Okay, you're giving me an idea I've not thought about before, but I think it would be a brilliant one. Though this farm is meant to be, how should I say this now? It's meant to be flexible and also portable, so that someone can carry it from one point to another. I think you could build the outside with the bricks, but putting the planting spots and also putting the vermicomposting chamber would be very complicated. And also we install, bearings in these farms. So I don't know how we would install the bearing in the bricks to make the farm turn around. That would be a little tricky on our side. But I think we can think through and see what other options we have instead of.
So I just, as a possibility, I saw a really great construction project in Brazil, and it was most of the construction workers were women coming out of human trafficking in Brazil, and they baked all of. I mean, they use the fact that they have great sun to bake all of the bricks themselves. So they've spent a lot of time. They had to purchase the molds, but once they purchased the molds, and what was interesting about the bricks is that there were holes in them, so you still got the strength of the outside of the brick, but because the holes were in them, it actually decreased the weight of the bricks, making it more viable for them to sort of transport, and a little bit easier to some extent to work with. And they also were able to put poles in between, so there were some interesting ways that they were able to work with it. So it just may be sort of the bakeable bricks may create some opportunities, one, to reuse some materials, also to use local soil to do it, and then potentially to get to the point where you teach people how, sort of how to make them locally with local products. So just it may be something where I was there and I was literally watching these big bricks bake in the sun and then be done. It was fascinating.
That's also a common practice in Uganda, that you have local piles of bricks and they burn them all themselves.
Wow.
So it's already there.
So do they have it with
It's not with the molds.
No?
It's one solid brick.
Okay, so the molds might be interesting because they made them smaller and then maybe a little bit more easy to work with. Something to think about.
I'm very excited about this point. It makes me feel very happy, and I think we can look at options of how to work better with the bricks to support the lower end person. And I think it's something we had never thought about, but it's very brilliant, and we would really love to try it out. Yeah.
Sorry, I had another question.
Yes.
Does the varietal of plant matter when it comes to vertical gardening, like sakuma or something like that? Would that still grow in a structure like that? I just saw tomatoes, and I was wondering what other types of plants thrive in like vertical gardening structures.
Interesting. So we have tried about 4 or 5 species of plants, but what really matters is for us to know in advance what you want to plant on your farm, so that we think about the spacing, because spacing really matters for plants. And then we think about, is it a climbing plant or is it a root tuber? So all these things matter, but we can plant very different plants. The tomato species you see, that variety grows up to 5 meters high. The same applies to some other crops. We can try to plant passion fruits, which grow very far, but it all comes down to planning and us understanding what you want to use the farm for. So it's a key question when you say you want a farm. We want to know what do you need it for, and then we design it. We custom make it for you specifically for that particular crop.
Thank you.
So do you usually only have one crop per unit, or can you have multiple crops in one unit?
Ideally, we promote and encourage intercropping because of the symbiosis, symbiotic benefits that come with intercropping. So we are open. It's better if you do intercropping.
Thank you.
Third.
Sorry?
There's no other question I want to ask you. Olyotia.
Okay. Happy, I think you've been to Uganda before. Ndi bulungi sebo. Olyotia sebo.
Bulungi.
Have you been to Uganda?
In contact before. I was asking you if you've contacted or if you know about Katende Harambe in Namugongo.
In Namugongo?
Yeah.
Did you go to the Mata Shrine?
Yeah, I've been there. I was there in it's June, right? When
23rd.
Yeah, when the big festival is happening in Namugongo, right? Yeah.
Yes.
It was really nice.
I'm glad that you've been to Uganda. For how long were you here?
I was there 2.5 months.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I hope you will come back and work with the vertical and micro gardening project very soon.
I have to come back.
I will be very grateful. Yeah.
Do we have access to all the contact information for where is that kept? I don't remember. I didn't write it down when I chose my workshops.
I think we can provide.
Okay, great.
So I think that's in all the proposals have contact.
Yeah, well, we are all in the same Excel spreadsheet, right?
Oh, in a spreadsheet.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Well,
Thanks so much.
just as you look out for an email, I'll be sending it because I'll be in DRC in a couple of months, and I want to think about how schools could. I'll be there at a school, so I'll be sending you an email.
I will be very grateful to read your email. Thanks so much, everyone. And I'm very happy that I've interacted with each and every one of you. Looking forward to working with you or, contacting each one of you. Though I don't have your emails, but if you can contact me, that would be very, very good.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Paul.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.